Okay, so today we are going to start alcohol and alcoholic liver disease. Excuse me. Alcohol, as we know, alcohol is C2H5OH, right? Methanol. The alcohol that we drink is methanol. C2H5OH, methanol. Two carbon atoms. And so, how alcohol is formed? Alcohol is formed when yeast ferments the sugars in different foods, right? For example, wine, when yeast ferments the grapes, the sugar in grapes. Beer is formed when the sugar is fermented in the by the fermented of the malted barley. Cider, when apples are fermented. Vodka, when potatoes, beets, and other plants um, they are fermented, right? So what does this alcohol do? So after water, God created alcohol, right? Water makes us alive and alcohol makes us dead. So God said, okay, this is the poison I have been talking about, the wish, the halal wish. So alcohol acts to depress the central nervous system, right? So at lower doses, alcohol stimulates the central nervous system. It makes the feeling of euphoria, the feeling of happiness, talkativeness. People talks a lot. Many people speaks a lot, and in very high doses, it leads to drowsiness, respiratory depression, coma, and even death. So in CNS, it basically increases the effects of a neurotransmitter, that is GABA, gamma amino butyric acid, right? This inhibitory neurotransmitter inhibits the activity of the CNS, right? And thereby the reaction time of the people increases, leading to many accidents. If somebody is driving and his reaction time is increased, right, then it can lead to fatal outcomes. And the pleasurable effect is pertaining, the pleasurable effects of alcohol is due to the increased levels of dopamine and other endogenous opioids. So before starting the alcoholic liver disease, let us first study, or let us first know alcohol, because those of us who don't drink alcohol, maybe alcohol, or who are not very much accustomed to alcohol, right? It could be a new substance. So alcohol, we know it is ethanol. The alcohol that is drinkable, that we can drink, is ethanol. So it's a liquid. You can see the bottle here, right? It's a liquid, and its density is 0.7892 grams per ml, right? That means 1 ml is not equal to 1 gram. 1 ml is less than 1 gram. It is 0.789 grams, right? In water, 1 ml is equal to 1 gram. If you weigh the water, if you weigh 1 liter of water, it will weigh exactly 1 kilogram. Whereas if you weigh 1 liter of alcohol, it will weigh around 789 grams, right? Why? Because alcohol has less density than water, right? Let's come to the energy. So 1 gram of alcohol, since it is C2H5OH, so when it is oxidized, it releases energy. It releases 7 calories of energy, more than the carbohydrates. 1 gram of carbohydrates releases 4 calories, whereas 1 gram of alcohol releases 7 calories, right? Nutrients, almost none, right? There are almost no vitamins, no minerals, none of the nutrients. So don't get into the propaganda of beautiful bottles and beautiful whatever, beautiful models or whatever. Then let us talk about how people drink alcohol, or what is the how people are drinking alcohol. So generally people, they drink a standard drink. A standard drink is a definition made by the government, or by some people. Standard drink or unit of alcohol, right? It is the measure of your alcohol consumption. Then how many standard drinks you have taken, one standard drink, two standard drink, like that. So standard drink is different in different countries. Let us talk about UK and US, because we are mostly the Indians are mostly they mostly do things as of UK or US. So UK, the standard drink is 10 ml, in US the standard drink is 17.7 ml. Now 10 ml weighs 8 grams. So 8 grams of alcohol or 10 ml of alcohol, it is one and the same thing. One is in kilograms and one is in milliliters. One is in liters, right? So in US 17.7 ml is one drink. In India it is not defined. India it is not very much defined, right? We don't define, we just simply Jai Mata Di, right? Then we have 1 unit of alcohol. Now the UK people, they have standardized the alcohol, 1 unit of alcohol. In fact, WHO has also not standardized. So UK for themselves, they have standardized that, okay, 1 unit of alcohol is 10 ml. So 10 ml is 1 unit. They have made it very straightforward. 10 ml is 1 unit and it contains 8 grams. The weight is 8 grams. So they put this kind of sticker, this kind of information over their alcohol bottles, where they write that 1.9 is little, not very much visible, 1.9 units is in one glass of 125 ml in size, right? And the total quantity is 9.4 units, right? So 9.4 units means 9.4 multiplied 10, that is 940 ml, right? Approximately 940 ml is there in total. And the guidelines for safe drinking is for men 3 to 4 units per day, right? That means 30 to 40 ml of this wine, right, is good for, is okay for men, and 2 to 3 unit of this wine is okay for women. So that is how they measure it. They measure the standard drink, and they tell their people to be a safe drinker, to drink in the safe limit. So now let us learn more about alcohol and alcoholic beverages. So alcoholic beverages have different strength, right? Different, you can say, concentration, or different, you can say, purity. So how the strength of the alcoholic beverages is measured? It is measured in 2 ways. First is alcohol by volume and second is alcohol by weight. Alcohol by volume, for example, you are seeing this sticker here, 60% alcohol by volume. So this such kind of stickers will be pasted over the alcoholic bottles, or in the ingredients they will be mentioning it. So 50% alcohol by volume, or alcohol by volume, means the volume percentage. Simply 50% of alcohol by volume means 100 ml of beverage, right? 100 ml of beverage contains 50 ml of alcohol. That means from 100 ml, if you take 100 ml of say a beverage, for example, say a wine, right, say a whiskey, so 100 ml of whiskey will contains 50 ml of alcohol. That means 50 ml is water. Whereas alcohol by weight, it is the weight percentage. It is mostly followed in US, and us is India, right? So US, India. So measured in weight percentage, where 50% alcohol by weight means 100 ml of beverage contains 39.45 grams of alcohol, right? Now you might think that what is the difference between volume and weight, apart from, you know, ml and grams, because when you convert 50 ml it will be 39.45 grams, right? It is little it is because of the taxes, right? When you say alcohol by weight, it will be less. When you say alcohol by volume, the taxes will be more, right? So in India, we follow alcohol by weight. In some of the bottles, alcohol by volume also you will find. So it doesn't matter. They are more or less the same. Always remember, alcohol by weight is little less than the alcohol by volume, right? So let us see the common categories of alcohol. So the world famous beer, right? Beer, right? So alcohol by volume in most of the beers, it is between 5 to 8%, right? Let us say it is 5% here. And wine, it is approximately up to 12%, right? They have been categorized. Beer means the alcohol content cannot be more than 8%, right? So beer is again strong beer, moderate beer, light beer, like that. Excuse me. So beer 5%, wine 12%, whiskey, right, up to 40%, right? So standard drink, according to US, the standard drink of beer is 350 ml, right? 350 ml. For wine it is 150 ml. For whiskey it is 44 ml, right? So 350 ml of beer which has 5% alcohol by weight, right? 5% alcohol by weight contains will contain 14 grams of alcohol, 14 grams of ethanol, right? 14 grams equal to 18 ml, right? So 18 ml of alcohol. You can say 18 ml of alcohol, or you can say 14 grams of alcohol. Remember, density is equal to mass upon volume, right? So you can calculate mass by density into volume, and you can calculate volume by mass upon density. So by this formula you can calculate 14 grams will be equal to 18 ml. 14 grams multiply 0.789, 18 ml multiply 0.789 equal to 14 grams, right? 78.789 is the density. Similarly, 150 ml of wine, right? A small glass of wine will contains equal 14 grams or 18 ml, right? And a very small, even 50 ml, less than 50 ml, 44 ml of whiskey will contain equal alcohol, right? So that is why when people take out the whiskey, they put very less, and when they take out the beer, they hand over this complete bottle to one person, right? Because they contain equal alcohol, right? The small dose of whiskey contains equal alcohol as that of complete beer bottle, right? So strength in different types of beverages are different. You can see from beer to wine to whiskey, right? So this will be a very new information for the people who are not accustomed to alcohol. So yeah, in India the standard drink is peg, right? दारू पीनी है hostel दे कमरे विच, right? So peg again, large and small, 30 ml, 60 ml, right? Doesn't matter, right? You drink till you drop, and then you are dead. So let us learn the alcoholic liver disease, right? So alcohol, ethanol is the most common hepatotoxic drug, right? Alcohol is a drug. Students always remember, alcohol is a drug. It is a recreational drug. It is not that drug which saves life. It is a drug which people take to just enjoy, just to have that euphoria feeling. So it is the most common hepatotoxin, and the irony is that it is a legal drug, right? You can legally buy it. You will not be jailed for buying it. But in some countries like Middle East countries, some Muslim countries, they have made it illegal. You cannot buy alcohol there. Even in some states in India like Gujarat and in Bihar, right? Gujarat, Bihar, you cannot buy alcohol, right? Legally. Alcohol is it is responsible for very huge amount of deaths. Very huge amount of deaths. Alcohol. Corona nowhere stands in front of alcohol. Alcohol is the lead. Alcohol has very good lead for causing deaths. Then alcoholic liver disease is the person may sequentially have three diseases or three stages. First is alcoholic fatty liver, right? Fatty liver, where it is also called as alcoholic steatosis. Second is alcoholic hepatitis, and third is alcoholic cirrhosis, right? So most of the mortality is caused because of the complications of the final stage alcoholic cirrhosis, right? But the book also says that only 15% of the alcoholics develop alcoholic liver disease, right? That is the frequency, mostly because people are now well aware of the danger of the excessive drinking, and moreover this data 15% of alcohol, I highly doubt it, because most of the alcoholic companies, they sponsor the research projects, so I highly doubt it. Then ethanol, how it is metabolized in the body. So when a person drinks the alcohol, right, it goes into the intestines, and from the intestines it is absorbed, and from the mesenteries, from the mesenteric arteries, it is taken into the liver, right, into the portal vein and into the liver. And in the liver, this ethanol is degraded because it is a toxic substance to the body, so the liver does not want this to enter into the systemic circulation. So liver degrades this ethanol, right, degrades it into acetaldehyde, right, through acetaldehyde dehydrogenase enzyme, and then and then acetaldehyde into acetate through alcoholic acetaldehyde dehydrogenase enzyme. Here it is ADH. You find out what is this ADH. I'm forgetting it. Acetaldehyde to acetate, and then acetate to acetate, it is further broken down into acetyl coenzyme A and then to carbon dioxide and water, right? So ethanol is ultimately reduced with the help of NAD, right? Nicotinamide diamine, nicotinamide diamine, whatever, NAD into NADH. It is with the help of NAD, ethanol is degraded ultimately into carbon dioxide and water, right? So this is little ethanol metabolism in the body. But when excessive ethanol is in the body might not be able to convert all the ethanol into carbon dioxide and water, right? So there will be high levels of acetaldehyde, there will be high levels of ethanol in the blood only, right? And that will be dangerous. So what are the risk factors? So first is quantity, right? For studying this quantity, we have studied previous 4-5 slides, and we have learned the different types of alcohol. So short-term ingestion, like 40 to 80 grams per day, right? Now you can well understand from where this gram comes from, right? If a person takes 40 to 80 grams per day, right? 40 to 80 grams per day, right? 1 unit of alcohol, according to UK, 1 unit of alcohol contains 10 grams, or approximately 7.8 or 8 grams, 10 ml or 7.8 grams. So if a person takes like 40 ml of pure alcohol, or more than the prescribed limit, right? If somebody takes between 40 to 80 grams per day, they can produce fatty liver. So you have to remember this value, because most of the times you have to counsel the patient that the alcohol that you are taking is more than the prescribed limit, right? But if you don't know what type of alcohol it is, what is the strength of that alcohol, what is alcohol by volume, what do you understand by grams, right? So then it will be a problem. So you have to know that 40 to 80 grams per day produces fatty liver, whereas long-term ingestion, long term, for years, if somebody is taking 160 grams per day, every day a person takes 160 grams, then that might cause hepatitis or cirrhosis, right? Females are more susceptible. Even quantities less than 40, above 20, they can produce alcoholic liver disease. So females should not drink, absolutely strictly, females should not drink alcohol because it is more dangerous to them. Then having hepatitis C or hepatitis B, as chronic infections in them, in patients having chronic infections of C or B, the alcohol, it is more dangerous to them, right? Then certain genes, certain HLA types are associated with increased risk. That means some people, even if they drink less quantity, then also they develop alcoholic liver disease, whereas some people, even if they cross the limit, then also they might not develop alcoholic liver disease. So this is the only reason, this is the only reason that this drug is still legal, because it might produce disease, it might not produce disease in some people, right? Whereas in maximum of the people it produces disease, but this may or may not, this little thing helps it to stay in the society. Then we have fatty liver, obesity and non-alcoholic fatty liver, right? If somebody is obese and somebody is having this particular condition, non-alcoholic fatty liver, we'll talk about this, then they are more susceptible for alcoholic liver disease. Then malnutrition, right? Malnutrition, it is suggested that the malnutrition is, if somebody is malnourished, then they are more susceptible for alcoholic liver disease. So let us learn the pathogenesis. So this is a normal cycle to understand. So this is normal liver, right? If somebody is exposed to alcohol, then they might develop steatosis or fatty liver, right? Steatosis is fatty liver. So alcoholic fatty liver, if a person is exposed to alcohol, they might develop alcoholic fatty liver disease, right? And alcoholic fatty liver abstinence means stoppage, right? If somebody stops drinking alcohol, then that fatty liver reverts itself back to normal liver. Students, always remember, liver has good regenerative capabilities, very good regenerative capabilities. right? But if the alcohol is continued, right, there is continued exposure, then the fatty liver might become, the fatty liver might change directly to cirrhosis, right? Also, right, if somebody is having fatty liver and he or she is suddenly exposed to severe alcohol, right, if somebody has, somebody is heartbroken and they have taken, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bottles, right, then that severe exposure might lead to acute hepatitis, right? Similarly, the person who is having no drinking history and the liver is normal, even with severe exposure, they might land up into hepatitis, right? Acute hepatitis, right? And when abstinence is followed, then that acute hepatitis reverts back to liver, right? So a normal liver might progress into slowly into fatty liver, or alcohol. A normal liver might progress acutely into hepatitis, right? And this hepatitis, when a person is severely exposed and a person develops, hepatitis repeatedly, then that repeated hepatitis might lead into cirrhosis. So cirrhosis is the ultimate sequence, ultimate eventuality, mm, ultimate event, right? So it is a circle, right? It is a circle, it is not straight. In first slide, in the first slide, you might have seen, there was written fatty liver, liver, normal liver changes to fatty liver changes to hepatitis, hepatitis changes to alcoholic hepatitis changes to alcoholic cirrhosis. No, it is not linear, right? Now normal liver can progress into fatty liver, right, when it is exposed continuously to alcohol. And when normal liver is exposed in high quantity of alcohol, then it might go directly into hepatitis state, right? Hepatitis induced by alcohol, we say that it is alcoholic hepatitis. Or fatty liver might progress into hepatitis, right, when it is severely exposed. Severe exposure will lead to hepatitis, and when this hepatitis, it can progress into cirrhosis when the hepatitis is repeated. So let us study the pathogenesis in detail. So alcoholic fatty liver. So if a person is taking alcohol more than the prescribed doses, that is more than 20 to 40 grams per day, right, then that exposure of high levels of alcohol will lead to increased amount of fat available to the liver, right? So this fat will be available to the liver by dietary sources, because people generally take high diets when they take alcohol. So dietary sources, right, excess mobilization of adipose tissue. From the adipose tissue, the fats, it breaks down into fatty acids, glycerols and triglycerides, right? And that increased amount of fat to the liver is there. And then increased lipid synthesis, there is more lipid synthesis also in the liver. So the liver, the fat is more available to the liver, and it results in lipid accumulation in the hepatocytes, right? So there will be more accumulation of lipids in the hepatocytes, right? Also, the ethanol is a toxic substance. It damages the hepatocytes and causes deposition of fats in the hepatocytes. So there will be more lipid availability to the hepatocytes, and there will be more deposition of fats also in the hepatocytes. And one more pathway is that the alcohol inhibits the secretion of newly synthesized protein by the liver. So liver synthesizes many proteins, so it leads to the inhibition of the secretion. The proteins are manufactured perfectly, but they cannot be secreted out of the hepatocytes. So what will happen when the cells, they are having more proteins, when the cells are having more proteins, then these proteins these proteins will lead to the increased oncotic pressure of the hepatocytes, leading to swelling of the hepatocytes, leading to hepatomegaly. So alcoholic fatty liver will be having hepatomegaly. and the fatty liver, the liver which is filled with the hepatocytes which are filled with fats, now will be the overall liver will be having a yellow and greasy structure, right? So it will be swelled up, hepatomegaly will be there, there will be more fat, and the color will also be yellow and greasy. Then alcoholic hepatitis. So alcohol, as we have seen that the metabolism of ethanol, it changes into acetaldehyde, and acetaldehyde changes into acetyl coenzyme and ultimately to carbon dioxide and water. So this acetaldehyde, right, it is a toxic substance. So when ethanol is taken in high quantity, then all of the acetaldehyde is not converted into carbon dioxide and water, it is not degraded. So this excess amount of acetaldehyde is toxic. It produces damage to the hepatocytes, right, by making some protein aldehyde adducts, right? It joins to the proteins, right? The aldehyde group of the acetaldehyde joins to the protein, and that structure, that adducts, damages the hepatocells, causing necrosis, right? It also produces malon dihaldehyde acetaldehyde MAA adducts, right? Again, adducts which produces autoantibodies, right? And these autoantibodies, they damages the hepatocells, causing autoimmune response. So either directly by making protein aldehyde adducts or by making some autoantibodies, right, it damages the hepatocytes. Secondly, this ethanol ingestion also damages the intestinal cells. So when intestines are damaged, the intestinal cells are damaged, then they produces certain antigens, certain endotoxins, right, which activates the innate and adaptive immunities, right? And when these are activated, when the adaptive immunities are activated, they releases, through the helper of T cells, they releases certain cytokines, chemokines, and there will be production of more T cells, B cells, and which causes hepatocytic apoptosis and necrosis, so leading to hepatocyte necrosis, hepatocellular necrosis. Then there are, for excessive alcohol, there are the acetaldehyde dehydrogenase, the alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme, and the acetaldehyde dehydrogenase enzyme is the chief pathway for the metabolism of alcohol. Apart from that chief pathway, there are certain other pathways. For example, cytochrome P450 enzyme, it also degrades alcohol, and also there are some MEOS pathways, right? So they also degrade alcohol. So when these additional pathways, they are activated, cytochrome P450 enzyme levels, they increase, and as a result they start producing more reactive oxygen species, right? When this reactive oxygen, it causes oxidative stress, or it causes oxidative damages to the membranes and proteins of the liver, right? So chronic ingestion will lead to the excessive alcohol ingestion will lead to the activation of the cytochrome P450 enzyme levels, producing more reactive oxygen, right? When more reactive oxygens are produced, these reactive oxygen molecules damages the hepatocytes, right? And the oxygen demand of the liver will also increase because these enzymes are activated, right, which will lead the liver into hypoxic state, and that hypoxia plus the reactive oxygen, they also damages the hepatocellular cells, right? So all these mechanisms, where the intestines are producing certain endotoxins, the cytochrome P450 levels are producing certain reactive oxygen species, and the directly the acetaldehyde is joining with proteins and forming some adducts which are directly cytotoxic to the hepatocyte. So all these mechanisms, these three main mechanisms, they causes hepatocytic damage, right? Hepatocytes, they will be inflamed. Hepatocytes, they will be inflamed because of these cytokines, and they will be necrosed, right? The hepatocytic cells will die, and which is the hallmark of hepatitis, right? So hepatocytic damage is the hallmark of alcoholic hepatitis. So hepatitis, the excessive exposure of alcohol will cause the liver, the otherwise healthy liver, or the alcoholic fatty liver, to go into alcoholic hepatitis, which is an acute stage. Then when a person is continuously exposed to high levels of alcohol for a very long time, the alcohol the person might be having an alcoholic fatty liver. That alcoholic fatty liver will eventually progress into liver cirrhosis. Or secondly, a person who does not produce his fatty liver but have repeated attacks of alcoholic hepatitis, right? Suppose if a person is drinking, huge amount of alcohol, and as a consequence he developed jaundice, right, because of the hepatitis, right? Alcoholic hepatitis, he developed jaundice. He was corrected, ultimately he was corrected, and again he drank too much alcohol, and again he developed acute alcoholic hepatitis. So such repeated attacks will ultimately lead the person from acute hepatitis into liver cirrhosis, right, liver cirrhosis. है ना, वो अमिताभ बच्चन का डायलॉग था ना, दारू नहीं पीनी जिगर खराब हो जाता है, राइट? सो लिवर इज cirrhosed. So in 10 to 15 years, alcoholic person, in 10 to 15 years might progress into alcoholic liver. See students, there is one more disease caused due to alcohol, that is alcoholism, right? Alcoholism. So alcoholism is more of a psychological disease than a physiological disease, than a pathological disease, right? Whereas alcoholic liver disease is a pathological disease. It causes the pathology in the liver. So a chronic alcoholic ingestion will ultimately lead to the cells, the particular cells in the liver, the stellate cells, they gets activated, and these activated stellate cells will start producing more collagen, and more collagen production leads to fibrin deposition. Fibrin and collagen, they are deposited in the liver, and as a result fibrogenesis is enhanced, and the liver is shrinked, right, than the normal size. The liver shrinks, it is less than the 1 kg weight, it is less than the size, it is non-fatty now, and it has a characteristic features of small nodules, right? Small nodules, to that much extent that when you palpate it, you can actually feel these nodules also sometimes. So alcoholic cirrhosis has a peculiar feature of developing small nodules, micronodules, right? So micronodular cirrhosis is seen in alcoholic liver cirrhosis, right? So let us come to the clinical features. So first is alcoholic fatty liver. So alcoholic fatty liver, most of the patients, they are asymptomatic. They will come for a general health checkup or something, some abdominal pain and some abdominal discomfort, and they might get an abnormal liver function test, right? They might be having an hepatomegaly. I told you how this hepatomegaly will happen, right? Because of the excessive proteins because of the inhibition of the synthesis of the excessive proteins, there will be swelling up of the hepatocytes leading to hepatomegaly. Also, the deposition of fats will make the liver fatty, right? Liver will swell up, right? Liver will become yellow and greasy. So nausea, jaundice, upper quadrant discomfort, right upper quadrant discomfort, RUQ discomfort, right? And loss of appetite, right? These will be the symptoms, and these symptoms will disappear after abstinence, after alcohol cessation and adequate nutrition. So then alcoholic hepatitis, so if some person has taken excessive amount of alcohol, right, then he might acutely develop hepatitis, and that hepatitis will be called as alcohol induced hepatitis or alcoholic hepatitis, right? So after a bout, right, after heavy bouts of drinking or after bouts of heavy drinking, right, a person develops alcoholic hepatitis. So alcoholic hepatitis will be having the same features as that of hepatitis: jaundice, malaise, anorexia, weight loss, upper abdominal discomfort, right upper quadrant discomfort, spider nevi, right, small telangiectasias like structure spider nevi, tender hepatomegaly, right, when you press the right upper quadrant, right, you will find tenderness, right? Each bout of hepatitis, right, causes about 10 to 20% have 10 to 20% risk of death. With repeated episodes of alcoholic hepatitis, cirrhosis develops in about 1/3 of patients within few years, right? So cirrhosis will develop in with repeated bouts of with repeated episodes of alcoholic hepatitis. Then the clinical features of alcoholic liver cirrhosis. So we will study about this liver cirrhosis in the next lecture, maybe in the next to next lecture. So complications of liver cirrhosis, the cirrhosis might lead to ascites, right, fluid in the peritoneum. Then we have esophageal variceal bleeding, told you about these. Esophageal varices will be there, and there might be spontaneous bleeding because of the portal hypertension, right? Portal hypertension will lead to esophageal variceal bleeding. Then we have other features of liver cirrhosis like palmar erythema. There will be redness of the palms of the hands, spider angiomas, parotid glands might be enlarged. There could be digital clubbing, very good feature in alcoholic patients, right? Digital clubbing in cirrhosis, it will lead to hypoxia, and that hypoxia of the liver will cause digital clubbing. And muscle wasting, edema, right? Edema, because the liver will not produce enough albumin, will lead to edema, right? In men, the decreased body hair because of the estrogenemia, the decreased body hair and gynecomastias, right, and testicular atrophies, and that same estrogenemia in women, excess estrogen in women, will cause menstrual irregularities, right? On physical examinations, liver and spleen may be enlarged, but generally liver is not enlarged in liver cirrhosis. It is reduced in size and shape and weight also, right? This alcoholic liver cirrhosis is also called as Lennox cirrhosis, right? Lennox because of the scientist who named it, found it, who described it. Excuse me. Lennox cirrhosis. So let us come to the investigations. Alcoholic fatty liver. So alcoholic fatty liver, the aminotransferases, the ALT and the AST, they will be raised, but not more than 100 units per liter. If you remember, the normal levels of ALT, AST are between 10 to 45 units per liter, right? But if they are raised up to 100, say 70, say 60, 50, like that, so that could represent fatty liver. The GGT, the gamma GT levels, gamma glutamyl transferases or transpeptidases, one and the same thing. So these gamma glutamyl transferases levels are raised, and they indicates alcohol ingestion, right? So gamma GT levels are increased. Hyperbilirubinemia, a person might be having little bit raised levels of bilirubin, right? More than the 1.2 mg, right? Or like that. So total bilirubin fractions might be a little bit raised. Then hypertriglyceridemia, it is very important feature. If a person is having hypertriglyceridemia plus modest elevations of aminotransferases plus raised gamma glutamyl transferase, then it is an alcoholic fatty liver. Without USG you can tell, but the standard investigation is USG, right? USG or MRI will generally tell us about the increased liver size, and we can directly say the person is suffering with alcoholic fatty liver disease. Similar to this alcoholic fatty liver disease, there is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. This non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is called as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, right? NAFLD. And this NAFLD is also called as non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, right? Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. So people who do not drink alcohol, they might produce a fatty liver which is called as non-alcoholic fatty liver, NAFLD. And this is because these persons, they are generally obese, their caloric intake is high, and the liver is more exposed to the triglycerides, the fatty acids, and leads to excessive deposition of fats in the liver, and the person might be having deranged aminotransferases, the raised glyceride levels, hypertriglyceridemia, and there will be alcoholic fatty liver disease, right? So alcoholic fatty liver disease can happen in teetotalers also. In people who do not drink alcohol, it can happen in them also, but then it will not be called as alcoholic fatty liver disease. It will simply be called as fatty liver disease or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is generally happens because of the increased level of fats, which will cause lipotoxicity in the body, right? Lipotoxicity will lead to insulin resistance, and that insulin resistance will leads to hyperinsulinemia, the production of excessive insulin, and since insulin is an anabolic hormone, it will again leads to excessive deposition of fats in the body, right, in liver also, and it causes fatty liver disease. So always remember non-alcoholic fatty liver disease also. Then coming back to the topic, alcoholic hepatitis, right? Excuse me. So alcoholic hepatitis, alcoholic hepatitis, the investigations will be, because it is hepatitis, so the first will be hyperbilirubinemia. A person might be, most of the times person is suffering with jaundice, and the blood will also show that. So bilirubin levels will be raised more than the 1.2, both direct and indirect fractions will be raised. The serum aminotransferases, the ALT and AST, they will be raised, so they will be more than the 100 and less than the 300. So there will be between 100 to 300 category, they will not be more than 300, right? Not like viral hepatitis. In viral hepatitis, the aminotransferases levels are above thousands. In acute viral hepatitis like hepatitis B infections, the aminotransferases will be very much high, in thousands. So whenever they are in hundreds, we say it is alcoholic hepatitis. And if there is a history of alcohol, excessive alcohol drinking, recent excessive alcohol drinking, right, then AST ALT ratio, which is generally 1, right, it will be reversed. AST is more, ALT is less in normal individual, but in AST ALT in alcoholics, the ALT will be less. We say that the ALT is less because of the pyridoxal phosphate deficiencies. The alcohol will lead to a pyridoxal phosphate deficiency, which will lead to less ALT levels, and the AST ALT ratio will be reversed. It is generally 1, right? So it will be changed to 2. So AST will be more raised than the ALT. Suppose if AST is raised like 200, then ALT will be raised like 150. So the ratio will be more than 1, right? So if it is 3:1, then it is highly suggestive of alcoholic liver disease. So ratio is also measured along with their normal increase, along with their increase also. So severe alcoholic hepatitis, a person who is having severe alcoholic hepatitis, is characterized by certain features. First is coagulopathies, right? The prothrombin time, the PT time will be raised by 5 seconds, right? It will be raised by 5 seconds. Normally is around, I think, 20 seconds. It will be raised by 5 seconds, 25 seconds, like that, 20, 30 seconds. It will be raised by 5 seconds. The person will be having anemia. The serum albumin levels will be less than the 2.5 mg per dl, right? And serum bilirubin levels, the hyperbilirubinemia, will be of the range of 8 mg per dl. Plus the person might be having renal injuries and ascites, right? So if all these features are there, then we call that as severe alcoholic hepatitis. And in that severe alcoholic hepatitis, we have a discriminant function. We will calculate a discriminant function df, which is calculated as 4.6 multiply the patient prothrombin time minus control prothrombin time. So let us say the patient prothrombin time is 25 and control is 20. So control means normal. So 25 minus 20 is 5, plus serum bilirubin levels, right? We will add the serum bilirubin levels, and if that discriminant function is more than 32, then we say that this severe alcoholic hepatitis have a poor prognosis, and the person might die because of that alcoholic hepatitis. Then we have alcoholic liver cirrhosis. Alcoholic liver cirrhosis excuse me very much. Alcoholic liver cirrhosis. In liver cirrhosis, since the liver is cirrhosed, liver is having more of fibrogenesis, liver is having more of collagen and fibrin in them, the elevated serum aminotransferases, there will be elevated serum aminotransferases, there will be hyperbilirubinemia, the serum alkaline phosphatase will be raised, there will be hypoproteinemia, globulins, albumins, clotting factors, all the proteins will be less. Liver cirrhosis and USG MRI will reveal the shrunken liver and the micronodular liver, which will indicate about liver cirrhosis. Right? So discourage alcohol drinking. I know you people don't drink because you are doctors, but you also have to discourage this legal drug in the society. You have to tell that alcohol is not a thing to take. You can take fruit, you can take fruit juices, you can take water, right, but not alcohol, and keep studying. Okay then.